Welcome to the Kingdom Educators podcast, where we empower Christian teachers to grab a hold of heaven's hope-filled perspective so you can activate transformational impact in your classroom and community. I'm your host, Jesica Glover, and I warmly welcome you to wake up to your strategic placement as a kingdom educator, anointed by the Creator and equipped by all of heaven to release the radical goodness of God that will transform lives and reshape education.
Really excited to be sharing today on declarations and decrees and confidence. Yeah, I've just learned a ton, probably in the last 12 years or more, probably more like 15, but in the area of declarations, I'm going to start there today. So for those of you that don't know me very well, I taught in Everett Public Schools for 11 years, and 9 of those years I taught in middle school. 2 or 3 years in, I recognized that my students really didn't want to be in my classrooms. And I was a reading support teacher, so it was kind of obvious in middle school, like why they would want to take my class rather than take art or music or something fun as their elective. Instead, they were put in my class to boost their scores. So that wasn't really very fun, but there was also something underlying that was keeping them from wanting to learn. And during my master's, I did a action research project, and I recognized that it was actually lack of motivation. So I began to search out, God, what is it about motivation and what can I do to help motivate these kids? Because a lot of them came from inner city backgrounds, single parent homes, sometimes both working homes. They were latchkey kids living in poverty. Some of them, English was their second language, also had a lot of learning disabilities that were in my class. And so I just needed some answers for being able to help to reach this very diverse group of middle schoolers, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, or 6th, 7th, and 8th. And just to be able to do a good job not only teaching and instilling the things that my district was asking me to do, but I also wanted to come in really out of heart to reach people for Christ and didn't really know how to do it. So I sought out mentorship. And actually, one of the gentlemen who's on pastor at my previous church came alongside me as an inner city worker and started to share with me that really the thing behind motivation is all around identity. And I just feel like identity is the hinge on which we operate, each one of us, what our perspective is about ourselves, about the people in our lives, about our world. So what we're doing with our life, where we're headed, is all under the guise of our identity. And what we believe is really what fuels how we behave. And so what's going on in here, what's percolating in my heart is transferred into my mind. And that's what I perceive everything around me, how it's happening. And also my view of myself as an influencer or maybe partaker sitting back like my students were, not really engaging. And so when I met with this mentor, he really encouraged me to start at the place of truth. And so how in the public school am I supposed to share truth? He shared with me how I could help my students develop principles of truth based on scripture, but not using actual scripture references. So this was a list of declarations that came from a book of his, and I began using that right away. I had my students stand up and share this list of declarations based on truth. One of them was, I'm a change agent in my family, school, and neighborhood. I started out having them just say like 5 a day. So within the first couple of months, we would add 5 more lines every couple of weeks, and I began to see a shift in my students' countenance, their actual faces, but also in their body and the way that they held themselves. I saw kids coming like this really low and depressed and looking oppressed by wrong beliefs about themselves. I'm incapable. I'm stupid. That's why I'm in this reading program. Like, I'm not smart. That's why I'm in here. And they would verbalize it too. When I began using the declarations that were based on truth, I began to notice that within a month or two, each of my students would no longer reluctantly stand up to say these declarations, but their faces would actually show signs of confidence. I also noticed that their body showed signs of confidence. No longer were they crouching over like someone who's afraid to be known or is hiding, afraid to be called on, but they began to put those shoulders back and stand tall as if they were proud of themselves. In fact, I share in my book, Speaking Words of Life in Your Classroom, that it was my 9th year of teaching my last year in middle school, and I just moved to a more affluent area. So it was less inner city, but I still had a lot of the same like learning disabilities and things, which was very interesting to me because I had helicopter parents, which I've never had in my life as a teacher. But yet these kids, I had one that was homeless. I had a lot of different things happening, but my kids still struggled with lack of motivation, even though they came from homes where they got enough to eat. They had really nice clothing. They had parents that were semi-present, a lot more than the other schools, but they still lacked motivation. And so I just really felt like, yes, we just need to keep starting with identity. So anyways, the principal walked in the second month of school, and we were standing up, making our morning declarations about who we are. And he was so impressed. He made a comment to my vice principal, "What is she doing in her classroom?" Meaning me. "What is she doing?" And my vice principal shared with him that the students are making a declaration with Miss Thompson at the time, that was my name, to just declare who they are. And it helps them stand up on the inside to become people of influence. So it was really cool because I learned during that action research of about 6 years that the more my students believed those declarations that they made, the more they became them. They became change agents. We did studies on the meanings of their names, which I share in my book too. I wrote some lessons on how to have students study the background of their name because names carry power. And the meaning of our name, which you should definitely look at the meaning of your name, carries some kind of like, I'm going to call it symbolic declaration over you. Mine means the wealthy one. Jesica is a wealthy one. And it's talking about a store of relationship, wealthy in relationships. And it's been cool over the years to remember that there's a reason why relationship is not only so important to me, but I was born to have a relationship with a lot of people, to be a connector, to be someone who pours into other people and enjoys being with people. So that's really interesting. And I know when we went and named my daughter, and we really took time to ask the Lord, what should we name her? Because it is significant. It's like a declaration over the rest of her life. My husband had some dreams about the word glory, about bringing God's glory. And we ended up naming her Evangeline Glory, and Evangeline means bringer of good news. And I feel like the Lord said, she's going to be a child who's a bringer of my good news and my glory. And his glory is the thing that shines on us when we're connected with him. It reveals his presence and his goodness to us. And so it's just a special thing that I hold in my heart. And I'm excited to see fruition of that name come to pass in her life. Already is she connected with her siblings. She is drawing them in a way, in the way she worships God, and they're still making a choice about whether he's Lord and King in their life. She draws them by the way that she worships or belts out, "My God is a chain breaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, the light in the darkness." She loves singing out that stuff, and they go, "Wait, what is she singing?" And they begin to ponder. So I know she's bringing his presence. That's just a small example of how we can help our students recognize who we are. But then I want to really come back to the fact that you as the Kingdom Educator, it is so important that you know who you are, that you know what God is speaking to you as an overall influencer, as a Kingdom Educator, but also in this particular season, what are the things that he is specifically speaking over you? So back to that mentoring story, I began using the declarations like Andre encouraged me to use, but he challenged me, and I want to challenge you today, that you need to write declarations of truth over yourselves. I'll drop a sample declaration list for you, but I really want you to spend some time asking God, what are the things that I'm believing about me that need to have a different base? So for instance, if you are believing something that is negative about your situation, like my situation is just too hard, or I'm not the right person for the job, I want to challenge you to come in the opposite. You are the change agent in your family, your school, and your neighborhood. Just like that declaration for the kids, you can change that to fit for you. I am a change agent in my classroom, in the hallways, in the office of my school. What I do every day influences my community. Because Kingdom Educator, whether you realize it or not, the things that you believe about you are actually influencing your sphere of influence. They're influencing your students, they're influencing your colleagues, and they're influencing your administrators. Because you carry Jesus, the Spirit of Jesus inside of you, people are attracted to your presence. And the way that you're choosing to steward that, people are watching and it is impacting them just because you carry him. So remember, like we talked about in the challenge, you're a thermostat and not a thermometer. You set the temperature in your place of influence. That's your classroom. And so I just want you to make sure that when you come into your room for the day, you have said words of truth over yourself, words of life over yourself, so that you come in ready for your day, because you are emanating the truth that you're believing up here. It's coming out of here with your attitudes, with every way that you speak. It is influencing the way you do your job. So that is how you approach your paperwork, your calendar, your emails, the ways that you respond to students, whether they're behaving or not behaving. It's going to come out in the attitude that you respond to your colleagues, your administrators, how you even come across, like if you're having a review coming up with an administrator, or you're having students come in and watch you. All of those attitudes are really fueled by how you see yourself. And my vision for you during these 99 days is that the Lord would totally take you from here to here, that you might be coming from a place of, yeah, I believe that I'm a Christian influencer. I came into this position believing that God is going to use me, and I want to just love on kids who need to be loved. But really, there's so much more than that. And where I want you to go is like, no, I'm a person of influence. I fully believe that I am called to these particular students at this particular time. I'm gifted for this special span of time to invest in these kids. And it's a gift from God. And I know what it is that I'm to deposit in them in this year. And it is my gift to be able to give away what God has put in me, and to call out purpose and destiny every day as I hear his heartbeat for this particular group of people that I'm ministering to. Whether my students are young, or they are college or adults, you have the opportunity to hear the voice of heaven. But I want to challenge you that it starts with what you are hearing and what you are speaking to yourself in your mind. I want to challenge you to really set your mind about yourself on things that are holy and pure and lovely. That you watch the conversation that's happening in your head about yourself, because I challenge you that you will start to behave differently, you will start to look differently, and you will start to physically walk and move differently, because you're starting to align yourself with the principles of God. I want to challenge you to ask him, what are the things that I need to be saying over myself? I know for me during this season, I am learning a ton about how God loves me. It's so simple, but I was listening to Patricia King today on a podcast, and she was saying that we have so much truth over us. It's like we're welling up, the rivers of living water are welling up inside of us. But the one thing that the world is craving for, and our own hearts crave for, is we just want to know the love of God. That when we know that we're loved, there's so much inside of that. It's like the acceptance of Jesus. It's his admiration for us. It's like, yes, that's my one that I made. I wait for her or him to wake up every morning just so that I can be with them. There's nothing that you can do to earn his love. We hear that in church over and over again, but to ask him to like get that into a deep place inside of you, that you are fully treasured, that you are the apple of his eye, that no matter what you do, his love for you is never going to change. To be able to actually like sit with him, whether you've got 5 minutes because you got tiny kids and your quiet time is just like, it's hard to get, or whether you've got half an hour, an hour a day, just to sit with him and just say, Jesus, would you just come and show me your love today? Would you show me that I'm fully accepted in the bridegroom? Would you show me that I can just let go of this to-do list, because you are going to smile over me no matter what I am doing or what I am saying today, that I am fully yours? And that's where that piece of confidence comes in. That when we know that we're loved by the Son of God, that when we know that we're chosen, that he formed us in our mother's womb, and there's purpose and destiny in our life, just because we're breathing, we can believe that you were born for a purpose on this earth that nobody else has. That is incredible news. It causes this confidence to come up inside of us, even if we're reading in the Proverbs or the Psalms about God's faithfulness and his love and how he overshadows us and loves us. You can be confident that you're kept, that you're covered, that you're found, and that we begin to walk differently. We begin to look differently because we're fully investing in, I'm just loved. I'm just his. I belong to him and he relishes in me. That's probably a funny word to use. He delights in me. He loves me. He loves my quirks. He loves my sense of humor. Even when no one else is laughing, I can just laugh because I love being me, because he loves me. And I feel like personally, I'm going into this new space in this entrepreneurial world, along with my teaching, are kind of coming together. And God's like doing this new thing inside my heart where I feel like my own voice is coming alive, and it's developing this confidence because I'm seeing a circle of God's faithfulness in my life to come around. And the prophetic words that I had years ago are actually starting to happen. And they're happening completely differently than I expected, like they always do. But God is so faithful. And I just have to laugh sometimes because he's so good to us that when we seek his face, we will find him. Even when we're in spaces where we're like feeling like we're in a desert, we can trust that he's doing something, that he's building something deep inside of us that we need in order to move to the next place. And it's so important that we grab a hold of the things that he has for us in that season so that we don't have to go around the carousel, like Graham Cook says again, to get the lesson again, but that we really choose to agree with him in a particular season so that we can get everything that he has to teach us about our own hearts, about how we're wired, about how he chooses us, no matter what season it is, so that we're ready to move to the next thing. There's a lot of nuggets in here. But I just really want to encourage you to really go after, what is it, God, that you are speaking over me right now, that you want to get in here so that I begin to stand up on the inside and it begins to manifest on the outside, that I can find confidence in the fact that you choose me each day, that I belong to you. You are proud of me no matter what I do.
Thanks for tuning into this podcast. Please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends in education so they too can be strengthened and encouraged in living their kingdom identity out loud in this pivotal hour. And please visit kingdomeducators.com to receive your Kingdom Educator Daily Truth Declarations, my encouraging newsletter, and be the first to know about my newest resources online and in-person events. And be sure to find me on the socials at kingdom.educators. Until next time, don't forget you are a history maker, and what you do every day is transforming lives.